I'll wait for a few people to jump on. Wait for a few people to jump on. We're going to talk about that letter again. I did a live earlier. Was discussing about my thoughts on that purported letter from Don Wells. I shared that I don't believe Don Wells wrote that letter. I think it's a complete fake. Fake meaning the letter wasn't written by Don Wells. And I presented my case on it. I presented my case, read the comments after I finished that live, and the consensus is most of you guys also agree that the letter wasn't written by Don. Some people said it's possible that Don got someone else to write it, maybe somebody in jail, or dictated to Tim Mullen or whoever his handlers are to write out the letter. But the consensus was that that letter was fake. Fake meaning Don Wells didn't write that letter. So just want to share that. But I'm coming back on live today. Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm coming back on live today because I'm seeing a disturbing trend right now as we speak. It's very, very disturbing. I think this is totally planned by Tim Mullen and the people behind Don Wells to allow this type of public misinformation campaign to start spreading like wildfire over the internet, and it's doing it right now as we speak, and I'm going to show you. It is very disturbing. Look at this. I have this above my computer, and no bad days. No bad days. That's my philosophy. There's never a bad day. You make the best of any situation that is given to you. Yeah, you know, the letter, since that got released at 12 a.m., so it was calculated this morning, there has been numerous media outlets that have been jumping on this story, but putting out exactly what Tim Mullen, Don Wells' camp, the people behind them, exactly what they wanted to happen. And the media took the bait. The media took the bait, in my opinion. The media is doing exactly what they planned this. This was planned, and you know, it's interesting. This was calculated to do this, to try to control the narrative, regain control of a narrative, because Don Wells is possibly getting out of prison or jail soon, within a few months. Scheduled release date as of now with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, October 30th, 2022, subject to change. Don't know if it will be beforehand, but his maximum sentence, I believe, is February 6, 2023. That's the longest he can stay. So he's getting out soon. He's over, you know, he served, what he got in February 7th, March, April, May, June, July, August, March, April, May, June, July. So he's been in 5 months. A few more months, he does get good time. I explained that in another video about his 96 day of good time. Inmates in Tennessee get 8 days per month. 8 days per month, good time. So it would put 96 days, subtract February 6th, puts you around the October 30th date. So Don Wells is getting out soon, relatively soon. So I think they are, I think the Don Wells camp, Tim Mullen camp is in a PR campaign to regain control of the narrative that they know is slipping away from them. It slipped. It slipped from the beginning. I think they had this narrative, though, at the beginning. I think the way I'm seeing it in my perception, and you guys can, you know, share your thoughts too on this. I think for the first 3 or 4 months, I think it was 50-50 when it came to the Wells. I do think a lot of people were sympathizing for them. I do think a lot of people were believing that Summer could have been kidnapped and stuff like that. But I think over time, as more and more information was revealed and has came out, I think the public perception has shifted definitely, where the majority of people, if not, a grand majority, 90%, I would say 80, 90%, believe Don and Candace Wells are involved with the disappearance of Summer Wells. And Tim Mullen is on like serious damage control. And I say Tim Mullen because I do think Tim Mullen is responsible for releasing this statement that came out at midnight. He admitted to me that he runs the findsummerwells.com webpage. Robin Lane, out of her own mouth, Robin Lane, the Sabbath, Sunday or Saturday school teacher for Summer Wells over there at the Seventh Adventist Church, she said that out of her own mouth that Tim Mullen runs the findsummerwells.com webpage. I do think there's a possibility that others around them also manage that page. I don't know to what extent. I do think the brains of the operation, though, is Tim Mullen when it comes to this propaganda machine. I call it misinformation campaign that they're trying to purposely spread to muddy the waters. Purposely spread to muddy the waters. I have communications with Tim Mullen. So the statement got released today claiming Don Wells wrote a letter to the kidnappers saying how his life is destroyed and he can't get jobs and Candace can't get jobs and blah, blah, blah. I didn't necessarily, I couldn't even read it, to be honest, in that handwriting. But I asked Tim Mullen about it. I sent him a message. I have long conversations with Tim Mullen. I've been communicating with him since the beginning of January. I know in the end of December, he's publicly put out a Media Manager Wells Facebook page. So I've been communicating with him for like 6 months. So I'm going to spin this around a minute. And I asked him about the latest letter. This is my communication with him. My last known communication. I will use what you said in my report. Have a good day, Tim. Then I say to Tim, hi, Tim. Saw the latest video you posted on the on the Don Wells family official YouTube page. Are you saying it's speculation and rumor about Don Wells' scheduled October release date? And I sent that on Sunday. He didn't respond. Then I sent yesterday, hi, Tim. Do you think I don't care for Summer to be found? Yeah, I asked him that question. He doesn't reply. Then today, I say to Tim, you're caught in a lie again, Timmy, and exposing you for it. That is not Don's handwriting. Care to explain? And I attached the YouTube video where I went live earlier and gave my reasoning why Don Wells didn't write that letter. He responds, love the new sunglasses look, JLR. You're getting good at becoming an entertainer. You're getting good at becoming an entertainer. So he's calling me an entertainer. And then I respond back to him. He has yet to respond. Did Don Wells write that letter that was posted on the findsummerwells.com website that you run at 12 a.m. this morning? So waiting for a reply from Tim Mullen when it comes to that. I asked him before. He could have very well explained to me, yes, Don Wells wrote that letter, but he doesn't. He diverts. Calling me an entertainer. Does that sound familiar? Who else did Tim Mullen call an entertainer? Who else did Tim Mullen call an entertainer? So anyone that's been putting stuff out a lot about Summer Wells automatically becomes a entertainer in Tim Mullen's eyes. Chris McDonough. He called Chris McDonough a entertainer. He's made many posts about Chris McDonough the last couple days. That's why I feel like Tim Mullen is getting unhinged. He's getting unhinged and he is getting desperate. I find the timing of this letter also interesting that got released from purportedly Don Wells. We'll just say purportedly from Tim Mullen. How about that? That I found that was interesting was Dr. Phil just came out. Hi, Tiffany Marie. How are you? Dr. Phil just came out with the repeat segments from the original interrogation type interview that they had way back in October or fall of last year. He just released that again Tim Mullen, Dr. Phil was announcing that he was going to release it. So I think around the time that Dr. Phil said he's going to release that thing, Tim Mullen used that also as an opportunity to put out a statement the other day saying, hey, letters of Don Wells is going to be released because of a kidnapping. Because remember, back in the day, Dr. Phil said he actually believed Candace and Don. He actually believed their story. So the kidnapping narrative was believable in people's eyes. And Tim Mullen, it seems like he pounced on that because he's posting on the Find Summer Wells Facebook page about Dr. Phil's interview. So he's trying to gain control of that to make people think a kidnapping happened. And then these so-called Don Wells letter that he's going to write, or letters. It said letters plural, but we saw one letter. I wonder if there's going to be more coming out. But maybe now that these videos are coming out claiming that that letter was fake, I don't know if more will come out now, because I think Tim Mullen knows. And there's a few other YouTube creators that are onto this about, questioning the authenticity of this letter that was supposedly from Don, because it's claiming Don wrote a letter. So they're not saying that Don had something to say and someone else wrote it on behalf of Don, or a letter on behalf of Don. They are saying Don wrote that letter, regaining the narrative. But here's what I'm very, very disturbed about. I'm very disturbed about the media right now, the mainstream media. Because if you go on Twitter, and I'm going to show you on Twitter what's disturbing me about this situation, right? If you go on Twitter, there are numerous blue check verified news outlets that are putting out this propaganda that Don Wells wrote a letter to the kidnappers. None of them in these articles are questioning the authenticity of that letter. They're saying it because Tim Mullen or whoever put that out there, and that's it. Don Wells wrote a letter. They're not questioning that. And that's a problem. That's a problem that I feel and I have with the misinformation campaign. Exactly what law enforcement, Ronnie Lawson and Hawkins County sheriffs and TBI have been emphasizing, that has been purposely put out. It's interesting too, because out of all those articles that are being put out about Don Wells writing the letter to the kidnappers, one of them, the Sun, actually included in their article that they were in correspondence with the spokesperson for Don Wells and Candace Wells. So it shows that Tim Mullen is not only put out that statement, but he's reaching out to some of these media outlets to put out what he wants them to hear, what could benefit Don in the public perception. Spinning around. You go on Twitter, you can very well put in Summer Wells search. I always do parentheses to narrow it down, the latest. And then you start having these news sites. Major Summer Wells update. Look at that. Look at that. It's called A News. Now, I don't know how verified this is. Major Summer Wells news update after missing Tennessee girl's father shares harrowing letter from jail to people who took her. Forte News. Major Summer Wells update after missing Tennessee girl's father. Thank you, Beverly Harris. God bless you. Shares harrowing letter from jail to people who took her. You worked harder than anyone. You never asked for money. Thank you, Beverly. I appreciate that. God bless you. Thank you. All right, so going down. Here we go. Here we go where we have problems here. Here we go. News 19. Blue checked verified. Don Wells released letter to Summer Wells kidnappers. Scrolling down. Here we go. WKRN News. To the person or persons responsible for kidnapping Summer. That's how a letter starts from the father of Summer Wells. The child went missing more than a year ago from Tennessee. So they put it out there as if the father put it out there. Scrolling down. Oh, here we go. Kenley Hargett, blue check verified. His profile identifies himself as a reporter with, who's he a reporter with? Columbia Journal, a TV reporter. 28,000 followers. 28,000 followers. Don Wells releases letter to Summer Wells kidnappers. Oh, here we go. Another one. Another one. This time, WTVC, News Channel 9, blue check verified. New. Just over a year after the disappearance of 5-year-old Summer Wells, the father of missing girl Don Wells released a letter to address the kidnappers. Here we go. WKRN News 2. Don Wells releases letter to Summer Wells' kidnappers. Here we go. Another media outlet. This time, News 5, WCYB. These are blue check verified accounts. These are blue with thousands. Look, 22. This one has 22,000 followers. Donald Wells, the father of missing Summer Wells, believes that she was kidnapped and released a letter on Thursday asking for her return. Oh, look, Fox Nashville. Fox Nashville. Fox. Let's see. Let's see their profile. Look at this. 111,000 followers. Father of missing 5-year-old Summer Wells releases letter to kidnap, pleading for her return. Coming from Fox Nashville. Let's go on. Let's go on. Oh, look at this. Look at this. WREG, News Channel 3. With 177,000 followers. Don Wells releases letter to Summer Wells' kidnapper. Scrolling along, scrolling along, scrolling along. Oh, our favorite network on the Summer Wells case, right? WJHL with 28,000 followers. The one that's local. Don Wells, the father of missing child Summer Wells, penned a letter to his daughter's believed captors while he serves time connected to a DUI in Hawkins County. Here's another one. WVLT with 102,000 followers. Summer Wells update. Father of missing Summer Wells releases letter. So, we are talking about multiple media outlets with hundreds of thousands of followers. You figure the combination of those media outlets reaches over 1 million people, literally. If you Google right now, I'm going to show you. Right now, I'm going to Google Don Wells letter kidnappers. And I'm sharing this on how media spreads out misinformation quick. These tweets are going out within the last couple hours. So within the last couple hours, Tim Mullen and the Don Wells camp was able to execute a propaganda misinformation campaign that has now spread all over the place with the perception that Summer was kidnapped. Highly executed plan that Tim Mullen crafted. And I say Tim Mullen because he runs these sites. He knows what he's doing. He has experience being PR stuff. He did it for his local church before. This is exactly what he wanted, and it worked. This one worked. Don Wells letter kidnappers. And look at all these top stories. Kingsport Times News. Don Wells writes letter to daughter's kidnappers. Don Wells releases letter to Summer's kidnappers. WATF. Here is local news. Father of missing girl Summer Wells releases letter. Here we go. WJHL putting YouTube videos out videos out. Don Wells releases letter to Summer's kidnappers. Did none of these journalists that put out this information do any sort of fact checking? I understand that a letter got released on the 12 a.m. this morning, but was it really Don Wells? Because it does matter. Truth does matter when it comes to this. And that's where I have a problem. I have a problem. I went live earlier. This is the letter purportedly that Don Wells released. Okay? This is the letter. And interesting that it's not signed by Don Wells, but they sign it as Summer's father. Summer's father. Well, I have a copy here, and some of you guys have already seen this morning. I have a copy here of a quick claim deed on Don Wells' Ben Hill Road house from 2015 when Clyda Trent signed over the house to Don Wells. It's a quick claim deed. And on the back of it, which is notarized, on the back of it, Don Wells writes out his name, his address on it that was notarized. It is not the same signature or handwriting, we'll say handwriting, as this letter. This is from Don. When you sign documents over, you have to sign them over. They're not the same. The handwriting is not the same. The handwriting is not the same. Further with this, if you go to the Hawkins County webpage about criminal records, the criminal case search, and you look up Don Wells' 2020 case when he got the DUI and the gun, the incident with Jose, you can read court documents on there and you can see that Don Wells, when he signed his plea bargain in 2021 to get his probation for what he did, he signed the plea agreement. Look on the signature and compare it with this, or compare it with the writing. It is not the same writing. It is not the same writing. And I asked him about that. He doesn't want to respond. Why isn't the mainstream media at least fact-checking this? Why are they saying it? How do they know? How do they know for a fact that Don Wells wrote this letter? Considering the quick claim deed is totally different handwriting when it comes to the section where Don Wells has to fill out, and it's notarized. The signature on Don Wells' plea bargain for his criminal case is not the same. It's not the same. So I reached out to these media outlets. And here's something interesting too. And I want to read this article, and there's a couple things. Thank you, LC. God bless you. I appreciate it. JLR, thank you for thinking outside the box on this case. I adore your compassion to help find missing people. Thank you for continuing to work hard to get justice for Summer. Her life mattered. Absolutely, her life mattered. And I get more and more invested in this, just like all of you guys. You guys are an integral part of this, trying to find Summer Wells, because we cannot let them come up with the narrative and let them get away with a narrative. Now, I'm being activist here. I am a reporter, but I'm being an activist here. We cannot let them escape with the false narrative that Summer was kidnapped, because that's what they're trying to do right now. They are trying their best, and they are using and manipulating the media, because all those articles that went out today about Summer or Don writing and pleading to the kidnappers all gets out there with millions and millions of views and millions of eyeballs, and then the perception is, oh, maybe Summer was kidnapped. Maybe Summer was kidnapped. And then Tim Mullen and Don Wells start winning the PR campaign, and then other media outlets will start drawing them on, trying to create a story. They get their book deals and their writings, and there's a lot of things behind it because it becomes a mystery. And mystery sells. Unknown sell. Unknown sell. Check this out. This is from a Sun article. Today, the Sun. It's one of a series of letters that he wrote. The next one will be addressed to Summer, who he believes is still alive. When asked how he's holding up, A family spokesman told The Sun, Don will say God, which is true. Candace Bly, Summer's mom, wrote a note to WJHL, which was forwarded to The Sun by a family spokesman that denied the sheriff's wall of silence allegations. So, The Sun is admitting that the family spokesman is sending them stuff about the Don Wells case. So the family spokesman, assuming that that is Tim Mullen, that is sending them what Tim wants them to hear. Look at this. Look at this. Major Summer Wells update after missing Tennessee's girl father shares harrowing letter from jail to people who took her. This is from The Sun. Shame on you, Christopher Ebert, for not fact-checking, by the way. Bad journalism right there. Bad journalism right here. Bad. The father of missing girl warned his daughter's captors to give his little girl back before God's wrath descends upon you. Do you see what's going on, people? Do you see what's going on, people? And that's someone that Tim Mullen is corresponding with. Tim Mullen is corresponding with some of these media outlets, putting out what he wants them to put out. So he's using them, and they're using him. Very bad journalism, because they're not fact-checking the authenticity of that letter. That letter is not written by Don Wells. Come on, let's be real, people. Let's be real. That letter is not written by Don Wells. But his supporters and Tim Mullen, they're going to pounce on that. Now watch. Watch Tim Mullen's MO. He planted the seed. It's being distributed out there as a fact. Don Wells wrote that letter. And then Don Wells or Tim Mullen will start posting those articles on these web pages, trying to get validity and validation through other media outlets that a kidnapping happened. It's a cycle. It's a sick cycle that he's doing. I wrote to one of the journalists with that wrote that article with WVLT, and I asked her, but I haven't got a response from her yet. Carissa Jones Simpson. Hi, Carissa. You wrote an article claiming Don Wells wrote a letter to kidnappers about Summer. How do you know for a fact that Don Wells wrote that letter? People are claiming that that letter is fake. You think Carissa is going to respond to me? Probably not. Probably not. One, they don't want to feel like they messed up. They don't want to be called out on that. Dar A. Would Don Wells be allowed to pen or pencil where he's at? Could that not be used as a weapon? Okay, so yeah, Don Wells can write letters, right? He can write letters. It depends on the situation of when solitary confinement. We've heard Don Wells is in solitary confinement. Now, what I know off experience, right? Because as some of you guys know, I went to federal prison over 2 decades ago, right? And I spent time in federal prison, and I was in solitary confinement myself. They do not allow, in the federal bureau of prisons, they do not allow pencils. They do allow these, like, flimsy little tiny pens. But he's in a county jail, so don't know what type of writing material. Now, that piece of paper this letter, right, is written on, is this jailhouse letter? Is this our jailhouse paper? Because Don Wells also wrote another letter a few months ago. That one he signed. That one very well could have been him a couple months ago. Remember, he signed it, but he signed that letter as Don Wells. But that letter looked like it came from a notebook. It came from a notebook. And yes, when you are in prison, you can most likely buy notebook paper. What type of paper is this? Was this white paper, like typing paper for people that want to type, or computer paper? Why is this letter different from the last letter, where the other letter was on notebook paper and this isn't on notebook paper? Further, if you look closely at the bottom of this letter, and you can see it on online too. It says, copyright protected. May not be altered. Owner Donald Wesley Wells. And it's typed. Very, very, very strange and bizarre. For sure. It's not, and then, again, we touched on this. It's not signed Don Wells like the other letter purportedly from him months ago that was released. It's signed Summer's father in very creative cursive writing. To me, it's not his handwriting. And these media outlets that are putting out this information, did they fact check or not? And I don't believe they did. I don't believe they did, and I don't think they're going to correct it because they don't want to be wrong. Now, I also wrote to, I think his name's Ben Gillum with WJHL. Don Wells' letter is fake. You need to fact check your article. The Don Wells letter was not written by him. You are helping spread misinformation. Attached YouTube video. Whether he checks his emails or the other one, Carissa, what is her name? Carissa checks her Facebook, remains to be seen. Whether they take any action remains to be seen. But also how misinformation works too, right? It just takes one of these local media outlets to put an article out, and then other media outlets use that, and then they spread it. They spread it. And that's how it spreads. That's how it spreads. That's how it spreads. Now, I have a friend that I talk to, correspond with, and they gave me a theory about this letter. I'm going to share this. It's, something that's interesting. I thought this stuck out. I'll read it to you guys. Here we go. I think it was probably dictated by Don, and Tim wrote what Don said. It has been a year since CPS took the boys. They will be going to court soon. They will be going to court soon. They need to push the kidnapping so it takes fault. Plus, the excuses for not having jobs. They need to blame others for why they didn't comply with the CPS family plan so they can get the boys home. Bringing in Candace's name, not able to get a job. Show Candace also didn't comply with the family plan. He's trying to last minute fix it with manipulated wording. The only thing that makes me think Don could have wrote it, all the corrections with D's, B's, etc., where the dyslexia shows his last letter was full of the same errors. So, a friend of mine was objective there, but thinks it might be a reason because CPS might have to come up with a decision soon on what happens to the boys. And what this person is saying is, they have to find a reasons why they didn't get jobs or whatnot. So they're just saying that, their lives have been destroyed, preventing them from getting a job, preventing them from going with their plan from CPS. So, it's sick. It's totally sick what I'm seeing transpire. And I am angry. Another thing is, Don Wells, the Don Wells family official site, look, they also turn the comments off. Their YouTube channel, they turn the comments off on majority of their videos. Though there is some videos on that Don Wells family official YouTube channel that the comments aren't turned off. Makes me wonder, is there different people posting on there? And the one that posted this recent letter always turns the comments off, while some other post could be posted by somebody else who doesn't turn the comments off, or it could be the same person. I don't know. But I'm going to go back onto YouTube and see. Here we go. Look, just in this time, just a few minutes ago, another blue check WSMV News 4 Nashville. Father of missing Summer Wells releases letter to kidnappers. Do you understand? Releases letters to kidnappers. So whether the media is complicit with this because they want to create a kidnapping theory. They're saying that Don released a letter to kidnappers as if there was kidnappers. Do you see what they're trying to do? And it's up to all of us. The point is, it is up to all of us to fight back. It's up to us to share the truth. To share the truth. I caught Don Wells in a lie, and I posted a video earlier today. I caught Don Wells in a lie. He told one of the media outlets, I think the King's Time or Rogersville Review, one of those smaller media outlets, a couple days before summer, after a couple days after Summer Wells was reported missing, Don claims that Candace called him, and he told Candace to hang up and call 911. Don claims he called 911 from his job, loaded his tools in his vehicle, and drove home. A few months after that, thank you, caseworker. Have you called Jim Terry yet? Why would I call Jim Terry? Who's Jim Terry? Okay, so a couple months after that, he goes on to the Dr. Phil show, and he says a whole different chain of events. He says that Candace called him, told her hang up, call 911. Don said he loaded his tools into his vehicle. I think he said truck, believe it or not, and started driving home and then called 911 while he was driving. So that's different than what he previously said. He either called 911 before he loaded his vehicles with tools, or he loaded his vehicles with tools and then called 911 while he was driving. Two different stories, and I think that matters. I think that matters. I don't even know if he called 911. I don't even know. So yes, this gets me mad. I'm seeing the propaganda machine work. What can we do to fight back, if at all? Or should we? Should we just stay out of this and let it all play out? Should we stay out of this and let it all play out? The propaganda machine is swarming right now. Let me read some of these articles. I mean, these articles are unbelievable. That if you read the articles, read each article. Remember, the average reader of these articles are not on YouTube like us and don't follow the case extensively with us. So the average person that works a 9-to-5 job and comes home and sits behind the TV and watches the 5 o'clock news or reads their newspaper is picking up a newspaper and saying Don Wells pens letter to kidnappers, and their mind's thinking, oh my God, she was kidnapped and he's trying to reach out to his kidnappers for help. Do you understand what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying here? Tim needs to validate who wrote that letter. He'll never say it though. Watch. If anyone tries to reach Tim Mullen, he'll never say out of his mouth, could Don Wells told Tim Mullen to write this letter? Yeah. Don could have told him that. How often does Don communicate with Tim Mullen while they're in jail? How often? Do they talk all the time? There was a bizarre post the other day saying that before this letter was released, it was computerized, it was creepy. It made me think, by the way it was saying, the American legal system described in that video made me think that the individual responsible for that computerized video came from overseas. It sounded like someone from overseas writing about an American legal system they know nothing about because they're not here. So is other people working in collusion with Tim Mullen to concoct these stories and theories and create these propaganda public service announcements, letters, penning letters and sharing for Tim Mullen or the people around Tim Mullen to release, to bait and manipulate the media to change the public perception? That's what this is about. It does bother me. It does bother me. Tim should just flat out give a statement. Was that, yes or no, was that Don Wells that released the statement? Because it was just released onto the website. But it didn't say he didn't say it out of his mouth. And this is manipulation right here. Signed Summer Wells' father. Totally different handwriting. Totally different handwriting. Totally different handwriting from the quick deed claim. You can obtain this quick claim deed also yourself to see through the Hawkins County property assessor or tax assessor's office. It's public information. It's public information. The sales of your home and your property taxes are public information. It's not private information. It's all public. So I'm not sharing anything that's private information for defenders of the wells that come up with these like wild, well, you're doxing the wells and crazy stuff like that. No. Public information. It is known. You literally see the difference between Don Wells and the Wells, right? You could literally post their address on YouTube all day long, and YouTube's not going to flag it. But if you post an average person's address, yeah, YouTube's most likely going to flag it. They're not flagging it because they are in the spotlight. This case is in the spotlight. The privacy aspect of their address, there is none at this point. So you can post the address or where they live, and YouTube's not going to take it down. But if you post the address of someone else that's not in the news or the story, yeah, they'll probably most likely take it down. But this is a public interest case. This case, Summer is still missing. I'm going to keep monitoring this situation as far as the media outlets and see, hopefully, I wish one of these media outlets would actually interview Tim Mullen, the spokesman, instead of just taking what he says. Beverly Harris, thank you. You're working amazing. Thank you for pouring so much time and energy in this case. You're welcome, Beverly. This is about finding Summer. This is about finding Summer. And, you know, I get a lot of heat from people. I do get harassed. I do get threatened. I get people that, you know, make crazy videos about me, you know, and I'm just going to stick to my guns here. I really want Summer to found. I'm just doing what God, the tools God gave me to go out there and make a difference and call it out. This is making me seriously focused on this and trying my best to find answers. And a lot of you guys, you know, I get my information through you guys. You guys give me some theories and great stuff. Other YouTube creators out there, you guys are great too, putting the information out there so we can get answers. We can't let this case go cold. And that's what I'm thinking here. You know, I can do other things in my life. I live on the water in Florida. I could go and lay and get a suntan every day. I don't choose that. I do that because I want to help. I really want to help. I really want to help find Summer. And I'm not looking for kudos or pats on my back or saying, hey, me. It's not about that. It's about Summer. It's really about Summer. That's what it's about in this situation. Every situation is different, but this one is about Summer. Really want Summer found, you know. And I can just say, like, a lot of us, you guys know more about this case just like I do. Many of you know, and you guys have been following it and every theory and speculation. You guys are, and you know, you take us and put us in front of the average person. We could go toe to toe and nail this case to a T. We can name every player involved in this case, every particular timestamp that was put out there of the timeline. We can name everything. Put me down with anybody and I can go toe to toe with them and talk about this case and debate about the Summer Wells case. Literally. And you guys could probably do the same thing. Because we just studied this case. I swear, like, literally, I've put in hundreds of hours in this case. Hundreds of hours trying to get every detail. And I'll be honest, I want to write a book about this case. I plan to. I plan to write a book. That's why, you know, I post some videos about their back histories or where they previously from or chain of events that led up before Summer Wells went missing, you know, and the haters are the ones that, you know, ask, what does this have to do with Summer? I'm just, it does in a sense, but at the same time, I just want to create a storyline of who these people are and how it came, you know, the paths that they took to lead up to what happened to Summer and then afterwards. And books aren't lucrative. I'm writing a book because I just want to share what my thoughts are and everything like that. Books aren't lucrative nowadays. They're not. So it's not about money or anything like that. It's about trying to just share, particularly when this case is still unsolved. We are still unsolved in this situation. Let's see if there's any more media outlets putting something out on the latest. I always put parentheses Summer Wells in it. But yeah, it's crazy how the media has now went on this. It's all about Summer. Absolutely, Linda Luhu. It's all about Summer. It's all about Summer. Right here. This is Don Wells' handwriting. Letter yesterday. This is not Don Wells' handwriting. So explain it. Explain it. It's not Don Wells' handwriting. It's not. Who wrote this letter? Who wrote this letter? And like I said in my previous live with this letter, this is exactly the misinformation that Ronnie Lawson and the TBI has been talking about. That's being spread, and it's coming right from the horse's mouth. It's coming right from them. Spreading this purposely so they can regain a narrative and put pressure on the TBI, Hawkins County, to make them think a kidnapping happened. So they'll come out and say, oh, well, maybe a kidnapping happened. Just like maybe Summer wandered off when they came out with that theory. No, Summer didn't wander off. Summer didn't wander off. I released a phone call the other day with Don Wells' next door neighbor, the Overby, very kind enough to speak to me. And he shared a lot about the theory about Summer wandering off. He doesn't buy it. You got to listen to that conversation. It's a great conversation that I had with a neighbor. He does not like YouTubers, and he does not like the speculation. So he was directing it at me, though he didn't know who I was. With YouTubers, sensationalizing this case or whatnot. I didn't want to get into argument or debate with why YouTubers are putting out Summer. I think it's more about, just trying to find answers and keep the case from going cold. But it's fascinating to hear from people around them. And he doesn't buy the theory that Summer wandered off. It's thick brush. It's so thick out there. And at points, like as an adult, you're walking, you can't really just, unless you want to get it all prickered up and you just want to just kamikaze into just brush. It doesn't make sense because most of the area is just thick brush. There's no really trails around there in the summertime, at the time Summer Wells went missing. Yeah, I keep hearing the word A.F. Pennington connected to the letter. I don't know who A.F. Pennington is, but I keep hearing that individual works with the Wells, assuming works with Tim Mullen to put out content or put out the effects of stuff on their webpage. But we definitely need answers here because we need truth. We deserve the truth. We deserve the truth. And I'm not buying it whatsoever. And if you think Don Wells wrote the letter, God bless you, but I'm not running with it. I'm not running with it. I'm not running with it. We all have different thoughts and we all think differently, and we're all entitled to our opinions. We all are entitled to my opinions. I was thinking, more, I'm going to change the bio a little bit on my profile because, I do a lot of independent journalism, but I've been invested with the Summer Wells case. But I might go like, investigation first, speculation second. Investigation first, speculation second. Yeah, I speculate. And some of the information that I put out there is wrong sometimes, right? But it's not willfully and deliberately. I might get a day or two off or, and if something is wrong, blatantly wrong, and it's brought to my attention with proof it's wrong, I take it off. I've deleted many videos that I put out there that some of the information wasn't right, and I was just like, nah, this can't go. But it's investigation first, speculation second. I do the investigate. I try to dig in, and I try to look, and I try to follow the trail or what leads up to the trail. And the timing of this letter being released by Tim Mullen, I believe, is suspect. It's totally suspect, people. It's totally suspect. So it's up to us to all look more into this. And when you see other people claiming that Don Wells wrote that letter, call them out on it. Call them, how do you know? How do you know he wrote that letter? Call them out on it. Don't just believe it. Thank God we have other YouTube creators that are also doing the same that I saw, questioning the authenticity of that letter, questioning it. Questioning it. So I'm going to look one more time, and then I'm going to sign off. Do I do these lives okay? You know, I kind of share the computer screen. I kind of get my thoughts and stuff like that. I don't have the StreamYard yet to have people come on the panel, but down the line, I think I'm going to get some panel and have people come on and discuss a little bit about the case. Again, you see, I do not engage in drama. This is like a zero drama channel in a sense. I focus on the players involved with this case. I could care less what other YouTubers, their own drama and everything like that. I don't do that unless it's like Jody Sue and the Andrew guy, Hunter's Five. You know, I talk about them a little bit because they are involved with this case. They know some information. They're involved with people that are close to the situation. But as far as like YouTubers that are all around the country and stuff like that, I don't really engage with them like that. And I don't want to get into, I rather we all be on the same page here and finding out what happened to Summer. You know, we all might not agree with what everybody does. For instance, you know, you know, I got like 650 videos out there on the Summer Wells case trying to find her. I made a video the other day about the boys, where I do know where the boys are, and I do know where the boys are because the information was given to me where the boys are, and I validated, or I fact-checked it, and in fact, I know where the boys are. But I said, you know, I know and other people know where the boys are, but I'm not going to share where the boys are. And I don't encourage any other YouTubers to share where the boys are. You know, they're living fine. Let them be. I think there's a line you can't cross. And, you know, I said that. And then people ran with that like I'm endangering the boys and I'm such a horrible monster. And, you know, it's just, it kind of, I was dumbfounded on them. Like, really? So there's something that I might have posted that you didn't like in your mind undermines all the other work. So that's where my mindset was, you know. And again, I don't think the boys should be tampered with. I don't even think the boys, you know, should be talking to. If anyone ever sees those boys, do not approach them, man. Don't approach juveniles. You might get in trouble. You might get in trouble. You know, you approach a juvenile like that, kids like that, especially that young and stuff like that, with cameras up in their face, you probably will go to jail or at least get investigated for it. So just leave those boys alone. Don't try to contact them. Don't try to go to their place and film. Don't do none of that. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let that process pay out. That's really none of my business. Though, posting pictures. Okay, so here's another thing I was thinking the other day. Posting pictures of their boys, I think, is not off limits. Reason being, because Don and Candace chose to bring them into the spotlight. Media outlets have already shared photos of them, interviews that the kids were with the Wells. So it's a public interest case. So the boys should be talked about online. I'm just saying in real life and going, you know, to hunt them down, I don't think that's right. But I don't think there's a problem sharing their image because their images are out there anywhere, everywhere, you know. That's just my opinion. You guys might feel differently. That's how I feel in that situation. So God bless. Everyone be safe. I'm going to sign off. Stop this misinformation campaign. The media should, you know, correct this matter or at least look in the matter. Tim Mullen it looks like Tim Mullen won the battle for the day. Won the battle, the PR battle. Tim Mullen and Team Don Wells and Team Candace Wells, and I don't know if Candace Wells is still aligned with Tim Mullen. I think Tim Mullen and Don Wells are the ones. They won a battle today. They won a huge battle today, and I explained why they won this battle. They won the PR battle for the day. Well, tomorrow they get more momentum. Will they get more momentum? And next thing we know, you know, they'll be on talk shows where these talk show hosts with millions of followers believe their story about a kidnapping or, you know, try to manipulate the minds of the public that there was a kidnapping. That's what they're honing in on, people. They're honing in on the kidnapping, and they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. They're not going to say she wandered off. They're not going to say anything else besides a kidnapping. It was a kidnapping. It was a kidnapping. It was kidnapping. Summer was kidnapped. Summer was kidnapped. That's it. That's all they're going to run with. And they're not going to stop. And I think it's going to get worse. I think it's going to get worse. And stuff like that is just going to drag this out. Going to drag it out. All right. Be safe. Justice for Summer Wells. God bless. Thanks for tuning in. You guys are wonderful. I'll read your comments once this video goes off. and I will talk to you soon. I might go live. I got going live more, so I might go live later. I got some other news to share. I'm kind of putting it all together, and it's pretty good stuff. So stay tuned for that. Just try my best just to find out what happened and digging in. No stone left unturned. God bless. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.